Hello.
Hey.
We're coming to you a little bit later than usual. There's no game. There was no game yesterday. Today is Friday. There was no game Thursday. There's a couple games Saturday and a lot of games Sunday and no game Monday. So I think the reason behind that is to flex games so that more teams have more to play for during week 18. Obviously, as certain teams win and lose, other teams are eliminated. So they try to make teams more competitive. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, let's talk about week 17. So Josh was 2-2 on his picks. I was 1-2. So not a great week, but I don't know. When you have a few picks, it's kind of like
Hmm.
you either hit most of them or you don't, or you go 50-50 like Josh did.
Woo.
So let's just run back through them real quick. I have the Steelers at home against the Chiefs, and I'm trying to remember, they had a couple turnovers early in that game. Like, I think it was close, and then Wilson fumbled, and I don't know. I mean, you can't make mistakes against the Chiefs. They're not going to, they're going to blow you out if you make mistakes against them because they don't make many mistakes. So that was that. That was probably just a bad pick overall. Josh hit the Chargers against the Patriots. They destroyed them. It was like what 40-7 or something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
was pretty ridiculous. The Patriots just I don't know, man. They seem to have some pluck this year, but not during that game.
Yeah,
Not a good game for them.
right. And
Preserve that
then
draft position.
Josh also had the Cowboys at
Boys.
the Eagles.
Hey.
So I don't know if this when this came out. So I mean, the Eagles ended up blowing them out. I don't
Yep.
remember the exact score,
Destroying
but
them.
this came out at some point last week where CeeDee Lamb was getting shut down because the Cowboys were officially eliminated, I think is why they did it.
Yeah.
And he had been playing with a shoulder injury, kind of playing through a bunch of pain. So they shut him down, and you could kind of see it was like there was a little less effort from the Cowboys in that game. And then Saquon was trying to keep his hopes alive for the all-time single season rushing record. So he had a bunch of yards. And even with Kenny Pickett and then
McKee.
Tanner McKee or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yep. Tanner McKee.
everybody was throwing touchdowns on the Cowboys, just like the start of the season, basically.
It was a bad, yeah. It was just they're done. They gave up, and the Eagles, even without their starting or their second string quarterback, dominated them. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Josh also had the Panthers,
Another blowout.
who
Oh my goodness.
had the Bucks last time they played a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, and
Yeah. Played
then
them close.
it ended up going to overtime, and the Bucks ended up winning. So I
Yeah.
mean, I kind of thought they would keep it close too, but
No.
it was. I mean, I think it was a one-score game at halftime, and then it ended up like a lot, like 30-something to 14 or something like that. So looking back, I remember talking about this one like it was higher than I thought. So I mean, maybe I should have trusted that and taken the Bucks, but the Bucks did blow them out. I mean,
Killed them.
you even heard I saw a press conference snippet from Mike Evans after the Bucks game. He's like, when you lose, you kind of regain focus and you kind of like you worry about the details. And I'm like, oh, he's been listening to me. That's what I say all the time. So if you think I'm dumb for thinking like losing a game gets you focused and motivated, well, I mean, he literally said that because it happened, and it happened in week 16, 17 to a team to like a potential playoff team. So it's definitely a thing. And I think it makes, it matters when you're looking at these point spreads for sure.
Doesn't
Okay. Then I had the Packers against the Vikings, and the Vikings controlled the whole game and then almost kind of tried to blow it, like almost the same as the first time they played the Packers. They got up by three scores, and then it was close at the end. Like the Packers had a chance, and then the Vikings ended up holding on and winning by, I forget what it was, but it ended up being close. It was a one-score game at one point. So I didn't get that. I did get my 3-star, which was good. My only 3-star of the week was the Commanders. It did end up going to overtime. It was such a weird game. Like the Falcons were up 10 at half, and then the Commanders controlled the whole second half, and then it ends up going to overtime. The Commanders kind of blew it. The Falcons had to bring in Riley Patterson as their kicker, and like he kicked what looked like a game-winning field goal, but it was way short.
Hmm.
Goes to overtime. Commanders cover. It's just a weird game. Like I really thought Penix would struggle against on the road against the Dan Quinn defense, and he did early. He missed probably 3 touchdown throws. Like if he hits the guy in stride, he probably throws 3 touchdowns, and he missed them all. He did make some good throws throughout the game, but he also threw a pick the first drive of the game, and it was just like it's tough to go like I said, on the road against a good defensive minded coach in only your second start as a rookie, no matter how good you are. So kind of struggled early, but then but Washington kind of shot themselves in the foot, and so the Falcons took a lead to halftime. Whatever, got a little bit lucky on that one. I don't know, like I felt like definitely could have gone either way. I don't want to say it was the greatest pick ever or not, but ended up getting that one. And then Josh hit the Lions on it was Monday night, right?
Yeah, it was
Monday night.
Yeah.
Weird game, back and forth. And I
Yeah.
was actually led for a decent amount of it, and then I forget what happened, but there was a big turning point. Purdy got hurt, but
Purdy got hurt. Yeah.
Purdy threw a pick at just a bad time when the Lions had just taken the lead, and then the Lions ended up going up, I think, by 2 scores, and then that was kind of it. You can't get too far behind them with. I mean, it seems like the Lions could score whenever they want. But as far as the Purdy injury, was it the same elbow deal? Like, is he done for quite a while?
I don't know. I mean, their season's done. They're not playing for anything.
All right, I need to look this up real quick.
But I don't know if he's playing today.
Okay, so it almost looks like if it was crunch time, like there's reports saying that he's questionable essentially, which is good news for him, obviously, long term, that it wasn't like the same elbow type of thing that's going to put him out for months. I can't imagine he plays this week, but it's good to see that
He's nothing for them to play for.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it'll be the Josh Dobbs show.
Yeah, Josh. Yeah, well, he managed to have. I mean, he had a rushing score against the Lions. He looked okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he'll be fine if he can come in.
It's one game
to the Vikings and on a Tuesday and win a game on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I think he can probably play okay against the Cardinals in Week 18, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's a loser bowl.
Exactly. Like, I mean, some guys, most players, most good skill players have incentives in their contracts. Like, I just saw one with Hopkins needing a touchdown to get $500,000. So you're going to see some guys playing more than they normally would in these games that don't matter, but you're also going to see some guys who don't really have anything to play for and they don't want to get hurt to sit. So Week 18 is obviously such a cluster, like no one really knows what's going on. But it's still fun. It's still the NFL.
Woo! One more week.
Let's do it, okay?
Yes.
All right. Everyone plays, obviously. Every game is a division game. They do that to try to make like Falcons Bucks, for example, like it definitely matters who's going to win that division. So they try to make things more competitive by doing that as well. So every game is a division game, and the first one, there's 2 games Saturday. The Browns are at the Ravens on Saturday. I think it's 3 or 3:30 Central, and I said Ravens by 14.5.
Yeah, I way underbid this. I did 10, giving 10, and I assumed maybe that they were going to sit some folks. I don't think they have anything to play for.
They do, actually. We'll get to that. So you said, what'd you say? You said Ravens what?
10, giving 10.
And it is 20.
20. Yeah.
It's 20.
Yokes. That's crazy.
So it opened at 18 and it went up to 20. Okay, so here's the thing. If the Ravens win, they win the AFC North.
Yeah.
So, and if they lose and the Steelers win, they don't win the AFC North. It absolutely matters. That's the difference between like the 3 seed and the, who knows, 6, 5, something like that.
So right now they'd be playing the Chargers. And if they had the 5th seed, which is what the Steelers occupy right now, they'd be playing the Texans.
Okay, so maybe they do want to lose it.
I was just wondering, like, isn't that the question? Would you rather play the Chargers or the Texans right now in the playoffs?
So they can't pass the Bills. So whatever. If they win or if they lose and the Steelers lose, they still get the
That they
three
get
and
the
they
three.
would host. Well, the Chargers could move around too. The Chargers
That's
could
true.
potentially get the 5. So
That's
there's
true.
just too much. You don't really know what's going to
Nope.
happen. So obviously you want to host a
Just
game.
win. Yeah.
You wouldn't want to like
Not.
tank to potentially go on the road and play the Texans or something
Right,
weird
no.
like that.
No.
So obviously plenty to play for the Ravens. So and then the Browns are basically playing for draft position. I'm guessing Dorian Thompson Robinson is starting again. So if you remember, the Browns beat the Ravens with Jameis Winston about 2 months ago. So I don't know if the Ravens need any extra motivation, but they don't want to lose to the Browns twice in 1 year. So I mean, I get why it's a little more than 2 touchdowns, but 20 is incredible. Uh, Interested. I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah.
Like last time they had the huge spread against the Giants, they did end up covering. I think it was 17 and they won by 21 or something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean they killed the Giants, and I mean the Browns are almost as hapless. So maybe the spread makes sense, but I still wasn't sure if they were going to sit some folks or not. But
Right.
according to this, probably not. Not with the 20-point line.
Yeah. So one thing just to mention, like I don't know which way this is going to go, but if Henry starts the game, Henry will start the game, right? And if the Ravens are up by 17 and like late third quarter or something like that, like is Henry like are they going to keep all their studs in and try to win by 21? Like probably not. Like as long as they have the game in hand, I would think getting those guys a little bit of rest, especially considering like Henry has been one of the biggest
Most used, yeah.
workhorses. Like he could use a little break. So that's something to watch there on the 20. Like if you think you like the Ravens at 20, something to consider for sure. All right, but let's not talk about that garbage anymore. The next game is an interesting one, at least for it will be to start the day.
Yeah.
Or I should say until Sunday. So Bengals at the Steelers. I said Steelers by 1.5.
The Steelers giving 3. The Bengals are favored.
Yeah, there's a lot.
2.5.
I mean, yeah. What is it? So,
Bengals by 2.5.
Oh yeah, open at Bengals 3 apparently. Okay, so let's see. I got the first 2, right?
You did. Yes. So
All
looks
right.
like the AFC North ruling Saturday right now.
So, I mean, this is every bit about who's played well lately. The Steelers have lost like 4 out of 5 or something like that.
Yeah, they've lost to some really good teams though. The Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Eagles.
Yeah.
But those are playoff teams, and they did not look the same.
Right. So, like, based on just overall, like what these teams have done this year, I would say your Steelers -3 is probably fair. But like, what have you done lately, sort of a thing, and the Bengals needing it more. I mean, I get it. I still, like I said, I still thought the Steelers would be a slight favorite,
especially at home.
I don't know what's really to think about this. I think you're going to have a lot of people who are on the Bengals bandwagon just with how well they've been playing, and I don't know that that's necessarily like the side you should be on. So I don't really have an opinion on this. So here, let's just go through the playoff ramifications. Obviously, the Bengals need to win. They also need the Broncos to lose against the Chiefs, which the Chiefs are going to rest most of their starters. And they also would need the Dolphins to lose to the Jets. So we'll get into kind of all of that like as we go. But obviously, since this game is Saturday night, the Bengals just need to win, and then they just need to see what plays out on Sunday. So everything on the line. There will be no lack of like motivation or anything like that. And then the Steelers, as I mentioned with the Ravens game as well. So if the Ravens lose, which good luck, Ravens losing to the Browns at home, but if it were to happen, the Steelers could win the North with a win against the Bengals. So that's obviously could be on the line. And if the Ravens do win, then the Steelers are still jockeying for a little bit better playoff position. If the Ravens win and the Steelers win, the Steelers would go to Houston rather than having to go to like the Chargers, or not the Chargers, but like I don't know who it would be. Who would be I mean, I suppose they could play the Ravens then. They could
Yeah.
be the 6 against the Ravens.
That's right.
So definitely, again, the Steelers are going to have something to play for no matter what, whether it's the division and a higher seed or whether it's being able to go to the Texans, who most teams are probably going to want to play,
Mhm.
versus having to go to the Ravens or someone like that. All right. Should be a good game. Should be a close game. Let's move on to a not as fun game. The Panthers are going to the Falcons. I said Falcons by 9.5.
The Falcons giving 5.
Ooh, it depends. It's close. It's in between, I think. Open at 8. No, it is 8. Mostly 8.
8.
All right. So I get that one.
You do.
Barely. Okay. The Panthers looked kind of bad last week
They
against
did.
the Bucks. I think Bryce Young was questionable going into that game and ended up playing with like a hamstring. I don't know how much that really mattered. He played the whole game, I think.
Yeah, he had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, that's not nothing.
Right.
Not nothing.
Yeah, although when the Bucks get ahead of you by 35,
Yeah.
most teams have been able to do that against them. At least pad the stats a little bit. But
Yeah.
So Falcons -8. So I guess 9.5. It's more than 7, less than 10. It kind of makes sense, I guess. The key here is obviously the Falcons are the better team. The Falcons are at home. The Falcons need it. So,
Yep.
but the Falcons still have a rookie quarterback who hasn't shown a ton to me. He did make a really good throw on 4th down to basically get the game to overtime against the Commanders, but he also missed a ton of throws that most NFL quarterbacks make. So this, like, if the Panthers play like they did last week, they'll probably get blown out by most teams. If they have a little fight left in them and they can kind of confuse Penix a little bit, and maybe like if this game is somewhat close going into the 4th and the Falcons definitely need it, like do the nerves show up or does the like the Falcons and poise doesn't really don't really equate too much. So I feel like if this game is close, like I could see the Falcons blowing it late. So it makes sense. I really think the Panthers do have a little fight left in them. I think this is going to be more like the Falcons trying to play not to lose and kind of maybe barely winning rather than blowing out the Panthers. So I'm definitely going Panthers on this one. I'm gonna go Panthers for 2.
Dig it, man. I mean, I obviously picked the Panthers last week to at least cover, and they got the doors blown off. They have shown something this year. Like in the last half of the season, they've shown some fight and some will to win, and Bryce Young has looked a lot better. I mean, that's not saying it maybe a ton because he didn't look any good at all for the first whatever year and a half of his career. And I just something about this Falcons team I don't like. I don't know. And they've been competitive this year. They're hovering around a playoff spot. Maybe they stuck with Cousins a little too long, and they would have been able to own that playoff spot right now. I think I like the Panthers too. I'm not going to pick them, but I think the Falcons will probably win this game. If it's probably be close though.
So you said maybe they stuck with Cousins a little too long, and I think they should have let him finish the year. Like them putting Penix in against the Commanders.
It's a gamble.
Those throws that Penix missed. Now, granted, your coverage is obviously different if you're playing against a veteran who knows how to expose certain things and doesn't know other things. But Cousins' level of play this year versus what Penix did in that game would have given the Falcons a much better chance to win. And if they win, all they would have had to do is beat the Panthers at home to make the playoffs. Like the timing of that decision, I get it. Cousins' numbers were horrible, like with the interceptions, but you just if you really still want to make the playoffs, and the last I checked, if you don't make the playoffs, you can't win the Super Bowl. You cannot make that decision at that point. And the only other thing I can think is like I think Cousins was guaranteed something if he played a certain amount of games, or only guaranteed.
Yeah.
There was something about like if he doesn't get hurt, blah blah blah. So maybe they were saying if he doesn't play, he's not going to get hurt, and we don't. Like maybe there's something in his contract that they were protecting against. That's the only thing I can think. But based on like, do we think we have a better chance of winning with Cousins versus just throwing this rookie in there? I have to think it was still Cousins, but obviously debatable. That's just my opinion.
Well, they had that 4-game losing streak, right? So they come off beating the Bucks, they come off beating the Cowboys. That Bucks was the second win against the Bucks in like a couple of weeks. They sort of owned the division at that point. They lost 4 in a row. And so they lost. The killer one is probably that loss to the Saints in early November. But then you've got the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Vikings. So you're probably not going to want to start Penix. Maybe that's why they held him out so long. But those were bad losses. Bad losses. Could have won that game against the Chargers. Got killed by the Broncos. They lost the Saints by a field goal. I don't know. Would I have liked to have seen Penix against the Chargers and the Vikings in early December? Probably not. But Cousins was pretty terrible in those games too.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Like I said, definitely debatable. I just fall on the side of letting Cousins try to figure it out a little bit more versus putting Penix in and like I don't know, like your chances of making the playoffs at that point when they were back in control because the Bucks had lost to I don't know whoever they lost.
They had their own losing streaks, yeah.
Anyway, why are we talking about these bad teams?
I don't know. Well, because the Falcons are technically maybe a bad team. They're maybe a playoff team if they win this. It's weird. It's just,
I mean,
it's a quasi bad team.
Like the the Texans are gonna make it. The Falcons probably aren't, but like, can we just can we do like a fan substitute of like these teams who have no chance of winning the Super Bowl to like, if the Bengals don't make it, let's get the Bengals in there because that's fun. That's no one's gonna argue that's not fun. Who else isn't gonna make it but might like I don't know, like the 49ers were terrible this year, but let's just say Purdy's fine and all their skill players are fine and Trent Williams is completely fine and their linebackers are healthy. Like, let's throw the 49ers in there too. For more like that Lions Niners game, did you watch it at all? That was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. The Lions are a fun team. Yeah, and I mean the Niners when they can play and they're healthy and they're a clever team. They're fun to watch. Both teams are fun to watch.
Right.
Good football is fun to watch.
Yeah.
Bad football is not so much.
Good football over bad football.
Every time.
All right, let's move on. Yeah. Another bad game. Texans at the Titans. The Texans are locked in the 4 seed.
Yeah.
The Titans are playing for draft position.
New quarterback.
Yeah. Exactly. The Titans are definitely probably going to draft a quarterback.
One would think.
So this game is a little bit I don't know if unique's the right word, but so the Titans beat the Texans in Houston earlier in the year. The Texans, DeMeco Ryans came out earlier in the week or like right after last week and said like, as of now, like all our starters are playing, like we're going to play to win the game. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if you say that at one point and then you kind of think about it throughout the week and it's like, hold on, what are we doing? Like, let's get a little bit healthier. So this is a very weird game because the Titans already beat the Texans and now the Texans have nothing to play for, but they might actually be like playing hard for some reason. Like you just don't know. Anyway, I said a pick 'em. I just thought, I really thought the Texans would rest their guys. So I said a pick 'em.
I went Texans given 3.5.
All right. It is. It opened
Tennessee
at
1.5.
Holy Lord! It opened Tennessee 5.
Yeah,
and it went down to Tennessee 1.5. Now that doesn't. Okay, Tennessee 5 makes sense of like, okay, the Texans are resting everyone.
But I needed that, yeah.
But if they aren't resting everyone, so why would it only go down to 1 and like why are they still favored? Like if Houston's playing hard, it should be huge. Like Houston should be favored.
There must be some assumption that they're even if the starters start, they don't finish the game or they play. I don't know. That's why I went lower with the Texans. Tennessee being favored at all is a little strange.
Yeah, so very strange game. Like if you know what to expect here, let me know because I have no clue. yeah, I mean it's just all over the place. You don't know who's playing. You don't know. The Titans just gave up again. Apparently, like they're just not even playing hard. Sometimes it's just weird. Um, Levis benched a couple weeks ago. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer can't throw a touchdown either. I don't know. All right, let's move on. Giants at the Eagles, another goofy one. When I guessed this, obviously, I thought the Eagles had something to play for. They never really did. They're locked in the 2 seed, but I said Eagles -9, and I'm way off.
I had Eagles -6.
And what is it? Eagles by 3 or something like that. Philly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
-3.
Eagles
Yeah.
3. Josh gets that one.
Woo!
Okay, so a couple things here. The Giants clearly haven't mailed it in. They beat the Colts. They knocked the Colts out of the playoffs.
Yes.
Scored 45 points. Neighbors was finally great after my fantasy playoffs ended, so that was awesome. So the Giants, there are some teams who seem like they're not playing as well, trying to maybe get a better draft pick or just kind of like mailed it in. The Giants obviously aren't one of those because they could have, I think they were in control of the one pick if they lost out and then they go and beat the Colts. So I think the Giants are going to come out playing hard. The Eagles are resting most of their starters.
Both Hurts still injured, right? Or at least
Is he still in the protocol? Man,
I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
one
I don't know.
question.
Well, they do like I don't know. I didn't think. Well, I mean, I don't know if he would be starting if this was week 8 or 9.
I haven't looked at it
Yeah, me
close,
neither.
but I thought he should be healthy
Started,
based on
yeah.
just like how long it's been. Obviously, he's not playing in this game, and even Barkley going for the rushing record isn't going to play. So
Yeah.
this is a weird one. Like, and then Pickett's got the rib injury, so I don't know if McKee's starting or what. I wanna take the Giants just because they are still playing hard and they're going to be playing against backups.
Yep.
And you always want to beat a division rival, even if it's week 18 and they're not playing their starters. But I don't know. On the road, only 3. I think I'm gonna leave that one alone. All right, or should I? Last minute switcheroony. Yeah, I mean,
I'd riding the Giants pretty well this year.
If it was more than 3, I would go for the Giants. I know, and I don't mixed results at best. Okay, let's move on. We got 5 down, 11 to go. Jags at the Colts.
Yeah.
Another team that is winning games when they should be losing games for their draft status. But I have Colts by 3.5.
The Colts giving 4.5.
Oh boy, I think you get it.
You're right.
I think it's 5-ish. Go Bibble.
It is 4.5.
Open at 5. It's 4. Ooh, you nailed it.
Right on the nose. Look at me go.
2 in a row.
Ooh,
yeah, you nailed it.
Man.
What we got here?
Any game that doesn't matter, like just completely uninteresting teams. I feel like the Colts are on the verge of blowing it up. I read something this morning about their GM Chris Ballard maybe just being shown the door too at the end of the year. Not a bad team, but not a good team. Can't get over the hump. Brought it down to the wire last year with an injured Richardson and had the division in the palm of their hands. They lost the Texans in the last game of the season. Then we're never able to follow that gumption up this year. Kind of struggled, but then not as bad as the just a way better season than the Jaguars. They're the better team, I guess, right? At least by record and by demeanor. So I don't know. That was 4. It seemed like they're more than a field goal better than the Jags, but not a touchdown, and that was kind of it. Otherwise, I don't know. There's not much to say about this game.
Yeah, the big thing for me is the Colts needed it last week against a bad team and couldn't win.
Nope.
And the Jags in the Nobody Cares Bowl against the Titans decided to play hard. So the Jags are still playing hard. The Colts now are eliminated. You
Mhm.
wonder how that affects their motivation and kind of their psyche. This is absolutely the Jags for me because, like, I mean, do the Colts care? You got an organization that's a little bit like you never really know what you're going to get with consistency. You mentioned firing the general manager. Aren't the Colts like? Isn't Ursay kind of more involved than he should be?
I mean,
With
he's one of
everything?
those, yeah, he's one of those owners. Like he's the one who decided they should have Jeff Saturday as their interim coach a couple of years ago.
Right. So those organizations usually don't fare too well
Oh,
either, like consistency wise. I just absolutely think the Jags is the right side here,
yeah.
and I would not be one bit surprised if the Jags controlled this game from start to finish and the Colts just kind of didn't show up. It's kind of hard to know. I also like. I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts win the game either. Obviously, they are the better team and they're at home. I
Mhm.
just think they're going to come out with a turd on week 18 when nothing matters. You're playing for so much. You feel like you just need to beat a bad team to stay in it. And now it's like, wait, what just happened? So I'm going to go three.
Three burger. Nice.
Man, I go three on these terrible teams too much.
This
But
one's interesting though.
yeah,
It's
it
not as
is what it
interesting to
is.
go three on the Eagles or the Ravens.
That's true. All right. Six down, 10 to go.
Ooh.
Washington, your Commanders at the Cowboys. I said Washington by
I have
six.
Washington giving 4. You're gonna get this one too. It is 6.5. Started at 3 though, and it jumped up to 6.5. Is Cooper Rush injured?
Who knows? Who cares?
I mean, they're not the Cowboys aren't gonna get the playoffs. They're not.
Right. So this one, the Cowboys got destroyed by the Eagles. Like I said, CeeDee Lamb,
Droid.
they're sitting him down. You kind of question what they're playing, like how hard they're playing.
Yeah.
And then the Commanders, so I have a little note here. They are playing for the 6 or the 7. So
Yeah.
if they win, so who would be alive for the 7? What is it? The So who are the wild cards? The
It's the
Commanders,
Vikings.
Chargers.
In the NFC,
Oh yeah. Never mind.
the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Packers.
Right. So it's Commanders,
Yeah.
Packers, and do the Packers have one more win than the Commanders? Or are they
They're
tied?
tied, and the Commanders right now have the 6th seed, and the Packers have the 7th, which is odd. I didn't realize that. But
Well,
there's no wild card team.
some of these
That's it.
apps don't rank it the way it's actually supposed to
Oh,
be
they
ranked
don't?
either. So you'd have to look into that. Like I think Yahoo's bad about that. Like they don't have the tiebreakers factored in. But um, I well, let's just put it this way: if they win and the Packers lose, they definitely get the better seed. I don't know what happens if
Well, they have a
they both win or both lose.
The Commanders have a 2-game win lead in the conference record, which I think is if they haven't played each other head to head, is the tiebreaker.
And for some reason, even though they're not in the same division, I think your division record matters. And I think they've been better at. Is their division record this?
No, the Commanders are 3-2, and the Packers are 1-4. They lost both games to the Lions, both
Yeah.
games to the Vikings. They only beat the Bears. They're going to beat the Bears, so they're going to end up 2-4 in the division. And the command. So this game means something. This is a game that matters to both the Packers and and Washington. It's weird to me that the Packers just have looked like the better team than the command. Not the Commanders have looked bad, but the Packers have looked better. But both of those teams have lost against, I guess, the superior competition, right? Obviously, Packers, we just said, haven't beat the Lions, haven't beat the Vikings. The Commanders have struggled against teams like the Eagles. They didn't beat the Ravens. So I don't know. Maybe these teams are closer than
Yeah.
I thought.
Well, I mean, I would definitely say most people would tell you the Packers are the better team.
I think
but
so,
You have to
yeah.
play the NFC
Yeah.
North 6 times. Like you're going to lose tiebreakers, I guess, which probably isn't fair to the Packers, but it is what it is. If Washington wins, they get the 6, which means they don't have to play the Eagles first round. They would play
Mhm.
the Rams probably.
Yep.
At the Rams. So Cowboys resting some starters. CeeDee Lamb's not playing. Washington playing for something. It makes sense why it's almost a touchdown on the road for the Commanders, but I don't know. I could see Washington completely blowing them out. Like the Cowboys really have mailed it in. I could also see the Cowboys
Mhm.
playing okay at home to play sort of spoiler in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the only open position right now in the NFC playoff picture is that NFC South. Everything else is locked up. There's nobody in the hunt for a wild card. They're too far behind. So it really is just, can the Falcons overtake the Bucks in the standings, and that's really what's going on in the NFC.
All right. Let's go on. We got the Bears at the Packers. I said the Packers by 8.5.
I went the Packers by giving 11.5.
Ooh, I think that's in between. I went the wrong way. Open at 8.5. Whoa. Hensky. We split that one. Huh? Right in the middle.
Yeah.
Tie. So I'm up 5-2 with a tie so far. Okay. Packers by 10. If you remember, the Bears should have beat the Packers and had a field goal block at the buzzer. The Bears had been playing pretty poorly after Eberflus got fired, like getting blown out.
Yep.
But last week they only lost by 3. That was the good news. The bad news was they only scored 3 against a team that was still in the playoff hunt at that point. So I think the Bears defense has figured it out again a little bit after Eberflus left. Not many teams have held the Seahawks to 6 points. There was a little rain in that game. It was kind of cold. It was a home game for the Bears, but still.
Yeah.
Like, that was impressive to be able to do that. So, I don't know. Like, 10 is so much for a Bears team who probably should have beaten the Packers. So, they're definitely probably match up well. And a Bears team who's played more competitively as of late. Like,
I mean, they've played competitively this season. The problem is that they've made so many dumb mistakes in clutch situations to lose all of those games, right? They were in that game against the Lions, in a game against the Vikings, in a game against the Packers, in a game against the Commanders. Like, it's like we're talking about plays decided by games decided by like a handful of plays or a play. So there's talent on this roster. It's just sucked. They can't pull it together. Because of that, they're a crap garbage team.
yeah.
It's so hard to predict that they're going to do this when it feels like they kind of just want to lie down.
Yeah, that's true. It's very difficult to understand like what you're gonna get out of some of these games, but 10 just seems like a lot. So one other thing I wanted to mention was we're talking about these teams where it kind of matters which team wins, like Commanders, Packers, and then you also have the Falcons, Bucks. So those teams play at the same time as each other, which makes those games more competitive, at least to start. But every once in a while, you get a game where teams get scoreboard watching. Like if the Packers look up and the Commanders are up by 21 in the third against the Cowboys, and they realize they don't really have much to play for, like, do you start seeing pulling some starters? Do you start seeing some effort level go down? Usually not, but it does happen once in a while. So that's something to watch out for too. Like, I don't know. Like, I have to think the Bear, like 10 is a lot. The Bears are gonna play hard. There's no reason to think that the Bears aren't gonna play hard, unless maybe they are resting guys. But why wouldn't they have been resting guys for the last month?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's people maybe who don't know they're not going to be in the roster next year, and so they're maybe checking out. But maybe some guys who are still competing, trying to make roster stuff prove themselves for next year or subsequent years. I don't know. I'm just done with this team. So the Packers are probably going to win. Give me 3 stars on the Packers. Yeah, I'll take the Packers the opposite way. 3 stars.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it.
We're both going 3.
Yeah.
Josh is going Packers. I'm going Bears.
Yeah.
For the 3-3. All right.
And it's only by 10, so.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I won't be surprised if the Packers blow them out. I just really don't think it's going to happen. But I don't know. I don't know how you can trust the Bears this season either. So
you can't. Yeah, you can't. Having said that, they haven't been blown out a ton. Like there's only been like 1 or 2 games where they really have let the score get out of hand. So it's a testament to their defense and the stick-to-itiveness.
of that team and that side of the ball, but
Yay!
I guess.
Okay, we're halfway done. Let's keep rolling. We got the Saints at the Bucks. I it's hard to remember from year to year, but like this feels like there's fewer competitive games week 18 than last year, but like I said, it's kind of hard to remember. I said Bucks by 12 and a half.
The Bucks giving 6.
Really, Spencer Rattler and the Saints
Yeah.
who just got blown out at home
I
for
know.
the Raiders.
I know. What was I
Opened
was
at
thinking?
14, it's 13 and a half. I get that one.
Yes.
Fair line. I don't know. Are the Saints gonna be competitive at least a
No.
little bit, trying to play spoiler, or do the Bucks tighten up a little bit because they know they need to win? I have no idea. Like, no opinion on this one. Literally, both of those two things I just said could definitely happen, and I have no opinion.
I mean, that's clearly what I was thinking. Just division game,
It was just with the Bucks, their propensity to score and then also throw a bunch of picks.
in a game, sometimes in games that they absolutely need to win, the Bucks have this season decided not to. Like, cite the Cowboys game from a few weeks ago,
That Falcons game, the second Falcons game, where it was like
they'd already given one up and then they lost again in the span of 2 weeks.
so it just feels like the Bucks. I like this Bucks team, but they can cough up a game that they need pretty easily. So that's I think why I went less. But this line makes sense. I mean, given the where these two teams are at, what scoring looks like, especially from the Bucks side, line makes sense.
So I'm kind of pulling from the memory bank here, but I believe Bucks Saints last time was Rattler's first game. And this was the game. This was a super weird game. Like the Bucks jumped out 17-0 in like the first quarter. The Saints had a 20-17 lead before the half went out.
Mhm.
And then the Bucks end up scoring like 40. So the Bucks were blowing them out.
Mhm.
Then we're losing still in the first half, and then they end up winning by like 3 scores. So it was all over the place. So I mean, from that perspective, I suppose you, even if the Bucks are barely ahead in the third quarter, you still feel like they got a chance to cover 13. Maybe that's what you're thinking.
Maybe. I don't know what I was thinking.
No, not you. I'm saying like
Oh,
a person.
a person. Yeah. Yes. With more football sense than me, for sure.
But yeah, I don't. I don't know.
I don't know.
how
I mean, this. Yeah, I agree.
How can you? Like, I guess most people are probably just gonna mail in the Bucks and say, yeah, they can win by 2 touchdowns. But
I mean, they clearly can. The question is, I guess, will they? It's good because they just seem to kind of want to give up games that they don't want to. I don't know.
can they?
give up
Will they?
games.
Would they? Could they?
I mean, the only thing interesting about this game is whether, like, the outcome, right? The Bucks, can they win? Can they make the playoffs or not? They've been hovering around kind of for the latter half of the season because they had that 4-game losing streak. Otherwise, I think everybody likes this team as a playoff contender, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs. Anyway, kind of stay away from this game.
I will say this: if the Vikings lose to the Lions on Sunday night,
Oh man,
I absolutely would 1,000% much prefer the Vikings go to Michael Penix in Atlanta
for
as
sure.
the 5 seed than have to go to Tampa Bay and play the Bucks.
no doubt.
So I guess selfishly, I kind of
No
want the
doubt.
Falcons to win and the Bucks to lose,
Yeah.
but the Vikings obviously they got a chance to beat the Lions and get the 1 seed. So we'll just see how it
Saying there's
plays
a
out.
chance.
Yeah. Okay, we got some left here.
Let's do it.
Another bad one. Bills at the Patriots. I said Bills by 5.
The Bills by 10.
This is another one of those where it's way different than it should be because of people resting. Open
Yeah.
at Bills by 1, and it's 2.5. Bills are 2.5. Ooh,
Yeah.
so I get that. All right. The Bills have absolutely nothing to play for. They have the 2 seed. They cannot get the 1 seed. The Patriots got blown out by the Chargers. They've showed a little fight kind of every other week, sort of a thing. Drake May, I'm guessing, is still playing.
Mm-hmm.
He took a shot in that Chargers game
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and still was cleared to come back in for some reason. So that's something to watch. Like I don't know if maybe the lingering effects of that is keeping him out, or if he's playing. I assume he's playing with this line, but so I don't know. Can the Bills backups beat the Patriots starters by 3? Is the question, and I have no idea.
I don't either. I mean, given again, the Patriots have beaten some good teams this year. Clearly, I wasn't paying attention. The Bills, with resting their starters, makes sense. I still think the Bills maybe can beat this Patriots team, the backups, but
Yeah,
be a much closer game.
yeah. It's weird to think
Yeah.
that one team's starters and another team's backups, no matter who it is, that the team with the starters wouldn't at least be favored.
Yep.
But they're not.
Nope.
But yeah, no opinion on that one. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Chargers at the Raiders. I said Chargers by 6.
Except Chargers by 8. Giving 8.
I think it's like 5 or something.
It is
4.5.
4.5.
Opened at 5. It's 4.5. Okay, so excuse me. Whoa, Bobby Burper. The Raiders played the Saints last week and they beat them by I don't know 10 something like that on the road. So O'Connell's was back last week. He clearly gives the Raiders a better chance than Ritter. And now you got the Raiders still kind of fighting, playing tough at home. And if they win, they can give the Chargers a little bit worse seed in the playoffs. So you got a division game, team playing hard. They got their not as bad quarterback playing. And it's more than a field goal. Like I think the Raiders are going to give the Chargers a little bit of a run here. I might be the only one who thinks that, but this feels a lot like the I mean the Jags are on the road, but it kind of feels like that sort of a game. Like it's just too much. It's more than it's 4.5. I just think that's too much. So I'm gonna go Raiders for 2.
The Raiders.
They're playing hard.
They are playing hard.
All right, maybe Tom Brady will play the second half.
Maybe. Well, then, oh man,
and
change that
announce the
lineup
game
quite a bit.
under the helmet.
If anybody could do it, he could.
All right, let's 49ers at the Cardinals. I said Cardinals by 3. I gave it the old home team
Same.
3.
Samesies.
And it is
4.5.
4.5. So I'm guessing this means like because of the Purdy injury, I
Yep.
think this is why this is 4.5. Yeah. Obviously these two teams, well, the 49ers were never really in it this year, which is
Nope.
crazy.
I
I
mean-
mean they were, but they never they led the division for probably a week or two, maybe. It's just weird. And the
They lost
Cardinals,
some early division games. It was weird. They had an odd season, like almost right from jump.
yeah, and then the Cardinals. This is the annual
Yeah.
Kyler Murray Call of Duty Black Ops. So I just saw this today actually.
Yeah.
So and I didn't verify if the numbers are right. It definitely could just be spam and not even be right.
Yeah.
But it said before Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was released, Kyler Murray had
Yeah.
9 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
And after it was released, he had 8 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. I don't
His
know.
mind is elsewhere.
Might have been playing tougher teams. I don't know. That's really related to that. But at one point, there was a story about him really liking video games and it cutting into his prep time for games. But I just thought that was funny.
God bless.
I don't know if there's anything to it or not. Anyway, no opinion on this. Like I'm think actually, I think Dobbs is gonna play, and if Dobbs plays, it's the whole like you don't know how to prepare for the quarterback who hasn't played much lately, sort of a thing. And then also remember the Cardinals cut or traded Dobbs after starting him a few games. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
a couple of
Last
years ago.
year.
Was it
The
last
Vikings
year?
picked him up. They traded.
Was
with
it
the
for the
Cards.
yeah? Was it the okay? Because he came from. I remember he came from somewhere. I don't remember where he came from. And then he had what 3 games, miracle games with the Vikings last year, 2 or 3.
Right. So it does kind of make me like the Cardinals, the way they blew it. I think the 49ers were bad just because they had so many injuries. Like they were one of the most injured teams at their key positions of any team. The Cardinals just kind of like blew it. Like they were in the lead in the division like a month ago and they just blew it. So I do, for those reasons, I do kind of like the Niners. I'm gonna go 1 star on the Niners here.
Definitely like the coach and the organization
Shanahan?
around. Yeah, the Niners more than the Cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not saying a ton, but yeah. So for that makes sense. Pick the Niners here in this situation.
All right. Chiefs at the Broncos.
This one's nutty.
I said Broncos by 5.
I went Broncos by 3.5. It's 10.5.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, opened at 10.5 apparently.
Mhm.
So I get that one, even though I was off by 5.5 points. Okay, so this one is a little bit weird, but okay, Broncos win and in, no matter what.
Yep.
If the Bengals lose, the Broncos still need to win because the Dolphins would
Yep,
get it if they
that's right.
don't. If the Bengals and Dolphins lose, the Broncos still get in even if they lose.
Mhm.
But the Chiefs have nothing to play for. They are not playing any of their key starters.
Mm-mm.
So 10.5, that's like it's still too much.
Seems way
Like
too much. They're at home, but
you got Carson Wentz and the Chiefs backups. Can they keep it within 10.5? I think they can just because that is a big number. You might get the Broncos kind of playing not to lose versus playing to win, especially if it stays close early. And I don't know, like backups on teams are obviously playing for spots next year. They want to show something.
Mm.
And if there's any team whose backups are probably decent, it's probably the Chiefs just because they don't make a lot of mistakes. I don't know, man. Like 10.5 is
a
nuts.
lot's a huge number.
I get it.
Huge.
The Broncos just need to win to. They just
Yeah.
need to beat the Chiefs backups at home to get a playoff spot. But I don't know. These games tend to be closer than rather than blowouts. I feel like just because a lot of people don't expect it. So I do like the Chiefs, especially at 10.5, a little bit. I'm gonna go 1 star
Wow.
on the Chiefs.
Racking up the picks this week.
I know. Got to get to 60%.
Gotta get him in. Yeah.
No.
Gotta get him in before the end of the season. You can't do it anymore.
It's really not that. I don't know. I just have a lot of opinions this week.
Yeah. A lot going on.
All right. The next one is the Seahawks at the
One's
Rams.
nutty too.
So I definitely guessed this without knowing the situation. I might have even guessed this before, because I think before the Monday night game was final, the Seahawks were still technically alive. I think I guessed it before that. Anyway, I said Rams by 6.
Rams by 3. And Seahawks by 6.5.
Right. So Josh gets that one. So the Rams have, well, the Rams. If I have a note here. If Rams lose and Bucks win, then the Rams get the 4 seed instead of the 3 seed. Pretty sure the Rams don't care about the 3 versus the 4. Like I read something, McVay in this same scenario rested his starters, and I think the Rams probably didn't fare very well in that game and just didn't care. So I think that's like history has shown that there's a reason why the Seahawks are favored by this much. And the Seahawks definitely seem like a team that is going to try hard, even though they've been eliminated. I don't know why I say that. I feel like I give Mike Macdonald a little more credit than I did at the beginning of the year. I didn't think they would be this competitive in his first year. So I kind of get it. I have no opinion on this one. I think you're going to see a lot of backups on the Rams, and the Rams, I don't think are very deep, and they're still like pretty young, especially on defense. Like if Puka and Cup don't play, you got Tutu Atwell and who I don't even know who their third receiver would be with both of those guys out. And then the defense, like I said, like they're pretty young. The backups probably aren't real polished. So I get it. I get why it's high. No opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the Seahawks here just because with the Rams not putting an emphasis on this game. It is really weird, this like how much better by record the wild card grouping is in the NFC as opposed to the division winners, the 3 and the 4 seed. So that's kind of interesting. I can get why the Rams wouldn't maybe necessarily see too much of a degradation between the getting the 4, the 3, or the 4, but yeah, I think I like the Seahawks here too. But yeah, I'll take the Seahawks for one.
The one.
The one. Give me the Hawks here.
All right. Okay, so that's so every game. So excuse me. There's 2 games Saturday, and then every other game is besides the Lions Vikings. Every other game is noon or 3 on Sunday. Like I said, to kind of group things together so that teams are playing for more at the same time. So we got 2 left. We got the Dolphins at the Jets. I said Dolphins by 5.
And I did the Jets giving 1.
You are definitely closer. It's
Miami by 1.
Miami by 1. Josh gets that one. This is a weird. I don't know if Tua's playing. I should have looked at that more closely. He didn't play last week.
No.
So you got obviously the Dolphins need the Broncos to lose, and they just need to win.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets played the Dolphins very competitively a few weeks ago at the Dolphins, so I feel like they match up okay. The Jets are kind of a dumpster fire though. Like, I don't know. Like overall, got the burps. Overall, this kind of feels like the Jets is the right side. Like, I assume Tua's playing, and the Dolphins.
I don't think he is.
He isn't. What's his injury? That's not a concussion this time, is it?
I don't know, but it says Miami Dolphins all but rule out QB Tua Tagovailoa for the regular season finale.
What is Tua's injury?
Hip.
It is a hip.
No, sorry, that's old. That was 5 days ago. Okay, so he was out against the Browns with a hip injury.
So he's got a hip injury. Okay, that makes a ton of sense. He is not playing, and that's why it's that.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Tyler Huntley against the Jets. Man, a lot of variables there. A lot of things that I don't care who you are. Like if you think you know what's going on in that game, you're smarter than I am.
These 2 teams, I mean, the Dolphins, it's so weird having them in the playoff conversation because if you think about their season in total, they didn't seem to be very good or do anything truly exciting or beat anybody. Like, were they involved in any like really great game? No, it just seems like not at all. But here they are come the end of the season and they're right there in it. They need to win and somebody loses and that's crazy to me. For this Dolphins team. So weird.
I think everyone has the same feeling on that.
Like, it's bizarre.
So Tua had a bad concussion, right? So
yes.
He's out for like
2. Did he get 2 this season?
I don't know. He was out for a month at one point.
No, maybe that was just one. Anyway, yeah, so, he was out for a while.
And so they lost 3 out of the 4 that he didn't play.
Yeah.
And then, they're like they were sitting at like 2 and 6.
Yes.
And yeah, everyone wrote him off and no one really cared.
Yep.
And then they played a bunch of bad teams and beat most of them. And now just the way it shook out, like the Broncos have had 2 chances to kind of ice these teams and haven't been able to do it. And now all of a sudden the Dolphins have all they need is 1 team to lose. Granted, it is the Broncos at home playing against some backups, but they need 1 team to lose and just to win. It's kind of crazy.
To be the playoffs so
bad team that, I guess if Tua comes back and they somehow make the playoffs, like I guess they are sort of dangerous. Their defense has been better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, they lost to some weird teams though too. Like they lost the Colts, the Titans, and the Cardinals. Like what's going on there? That was early in the season. I don't know, man. It's just you're right. Just some bad losses. Meh.
So Dolphins have a chance to get in. I don't know what to think about that. You got Tyler Huntley on the road as a 1 point favorite at the Jets, and the Jets are
Stay
just
away.
complete dumpster fire. So,
Stay away.
all right, now the game of the week.
Game of the season, maybe.
There's some.
So good.
I might have this stat wrong, or I don't know if it's really a stat, but no, it's never happened where two teams have been playing for the 1 seed and the division on the final week and each have at least 14 wins or something like that. So that's happening. Vikings at the Lions. I'm going Lions by 3.5.
I have the Lions giving 2.5.
So I think it was in that area and has been kind of moving back and forth. Opened at 3. It's most consistently 3. There is a couple 2.5. So I don't know if we really needed a tiebreaker, you would get that. But,
Yeah, but we know it's definitely 3. Yeah.
Tie. Or wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we tie that one. I win the week. So this game, I don't know what to think. Like the Lions, you sort of almost have to think that the Lions can cover 3 at home. No one's been able to stop them. Like the Vikings, first game the Vikings played them, they had a great defensive game plan. They forced, I think, 2 3-and-outs to start the game, but then the Lions got hot and started scoring every possession, end up winning the game on a field goal at the end. I guess really the key, the Vikings are somewhat healthy across the board, which is great for them, obviously. Lions, it's no like secret that they have a ton of injuries, but it seems like they've just been able to overcome. I think really the key is, well, obviously, like the Lions defense tends to give up a lot of points, and the strength of both teams is the Vikings defense and the Lions offense. So that cat and mouse game is going to be very interesting. Kind of how you adjust. So like I said, the Vikings came out and stopped the Lions the first 2 or 3 possessions last game, and then the Lions figured it out. They solved it. Now, is the same thing going to happen in this game? Like it's going to be kind of Flores versus Johnson, Flores versus Goff, and I don't know. I really think, I guess as a Vikings fan, as a realist, I don't know. I just expect the Lions to win this game. Maybe it's close. Maybe it's only 3. But man, that'd be awesome if the Vikings can win and get the 1 seed. That's just
What an incredible season.
no kidding.
What an incredible. I mean, that would be fucking crazy. Super cool. Like just shaping up to be an awesome game. Like what a master stroke for NFL scheduling to have the final game of the regular season be Lions Vikings for the NFL, for the division, for the 1 seed, both with the
Right.
same record at 14-2. Just fucking incredible.
And like getting a bye in the NFC. So if you get the 1 seed, you get the bye, right?
Yeah.
So don't have to play 1 week, and then obviously home field throughout,
Yep.
and you avoid the Eagles in
Yep.
round 2 for sure, because
Always play
They're
the
the
lowest
2.
seed. Yep.
definitely a ton on the line. Like
No
I
question.
feel like it's usually not that important to get the bye, but and then if you're the Lions, like
With all the injuries.
yeah, to get some guys back who aren't out for the
Yeah.
year. So gonna be a crazy, hopefully a good competitive game, and hopefully the purple comes out on top, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't care. Both these teams have looked really good. I mean, I just would I for the Bears to be this good? Yeah, of course I would. But I'm really excited for a great matchup. Like super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. I need one more pick. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take the Lions for 2 here.
The Lions for
Yeah.
2. I like it, but I'm not doing it. If it was 2.5, I absolutely would.
Yeah.
All right. Lions for 2.
Yeah.
All right, that's week 18. We are probably going to do this throughout the playoffs to appease our millions of viewers.
Many, many fans.
And I don't know, we'll have to see if we do anything post NFL season. We did a little March Madness, sort of college
Mhm.
basketball stuff last week, just a couple weeks, but nothing too crazy. That's it for week 18. We'll see who makes the playoffs, and
Yeah.
we'll see you next week for an
Big
abbreviated
playoff.
version of the DJ's podcast.
Woot.
Go Vikings!
Go Bears.